PlayStation has finally announced Spartacus, aka the changes it's going to be making to PS Plus, making it PlayStation's tiered competitor to Xbox Game Pass. To talk about it, I've pulled together our console crew, Xbox expert Jordan Ramey.
Yo.
And PlayStation Pro Timur Hussein.
Absolutely rigid to talk about these changes, lads.
Oh my god.
I don't actually know if he's used that one before, just because it's been so long.
I hoped some time away from this show would mean he'd drop that, but I guess not.
Frothing.
There's been a lot of chat about whether or not PlayStation Plus and all of its tiers, which we will talk about, are a worthy competitor to Game Pass, or even whether you should call them competitors at all. So let's get into it.
Transition.
So I'm going to quickly run us through the new tiers.
Listen, Lucy, the only tiers I'm interested in is the Mimic tiers.
I thought you were going to say the only ones you're interested in are gamer tiers.
I'm interested in those as well, but specifically Elden Ring's Mimic tiers right now.
So PlayStation Plus now has 3 tiers. You've got PlayStation Plus Essential, which is essentially the same as PS Plus is now. So 2 monthly downloadable games, discounts, cloud storage, multiplayer, and the price remains the same, $59.99 per year. Then you've got PlayStation Plus Extra, which, not unlike a Patreon tier, means you get all the benefits from the previous tier, plus 400 PS4 and PS5 games from first party and third party, which are downloadable, so no streaming here, and that is $99.99 per year. This one actually sets it on par with the same price as Game Pass Ultimate, which is $14.99 a month. Although Game Pass Ultimate can't buy in a year's bundle, which really annoys me. But I will take my gripes to Big Phil later. Then, you've got the third tier, PlayStation Plus Premium. God help me if I've been popping on the mic, I'm sorry if I have. All the benefits from the previous 2 tiers, including 340 extra games, including PS3 games, as well as PS1, PS2, and PSP games. So the PS3 games you can stream, and the others you can download or stream, depending on what's being on offer. And as well, if you live in a market where you can't access the games, like there isn't any cloud streaming there, you will be able to download a selection of games that have been made available.
Lucy, I did not realize until you just said all of that out loud that the math on this just, doesn't add up. And, if you buy this on a monthly basis, you are wasting so much money. They definitely want you to buy, the year subscription.
And yet Xbox does not want you to buy a yearly, which is really annoying. I'm quickly going to finish this tier. You've got game trials, time-limited game trials. So we've actually seen PlayStation trial out their trials previously, although, if I recall correctly, they did have an unfortunate thing where your download time counted towards the time in your trial. And so, sucks to be you if you don't have good enough internet for that. This final PlayStation Plus Premium is $119 per year or $17.99 a month. PlayStation Now is no longer a standalone service, and it won't be from June, where there's going to be a phased regional release. So, off the bat, what do we make of this? The tiers, the gamer tiers.
So I think it's important to think about why they're doing this, and I think there's, for me, my understanding of it is it's like a dual purpose. They need to consolidate, and they also need to kind of have some sort of offering that is akin to a Game Pass or akin to a Netflix or akin to a Amazon Prime. There's been a lot of discussion about, is this a Game Pass competitor? And I think that we'll come to that discussion in a bit, but I think it's just saying, is this a Game Pass competitor is very a narrow view of it. You should be asking yourself, is this a competitor for any subscription service? And the reason I say that is because ultimately people have money. Money is finite for most people, and they need to make purchasing decisions based on the money they have. So when you have $50 a month, $100 a year, whatever it may be, and you're trying to figure out what do I spend this on, people aren't specifically just thinking about, should I buy Game Pass or should I buy PlayStation Plus? They're also thinking about, should I buy Amazon Prime? Should I re-up Crunchyroll? Should I re-up Netflix? Should I don't know, get a gym membership? Like the same pool of money is being spent on all this thing, and the same goes specifically for Game Pass. And I know there's a lot of discussion about people saying this is not stop, creating comparisons between Game Pass and PlayStation. Fundamentally, or like thinking of how they're positioned, you're right. In terms of format and offerings, they are not designed to compete. Fundamentally, however, though, because of that, what we just discussed, where it's the same pool of money being used to spend on services, they are a competition whether you like it or not. Like, if I've got a certain amount of money and I need to make a purchasing decision and I don't have the disposable income to buy everything, I need to pick, they are in competition. And that's the fact of the matter whether you care about it or not. I think that it's an interesting move from PlayStation in that they've clearly created their own avenue where it's not Game Pass, but it's still a service that people can pay money for and feel like they have a big library of stuff. Behold, our stuff, somebody says, for a fee. I think what's different about it is obvious. Like, there's not as much of a focus on making it the place where you come the moment a brand new game is out, and instead it's more of like I feel like I want to play something different. What can I see? Let me see what I've got going on here. It feels more like going to Netflix when you're bored and you want to just find something to waste or kill some hours, as opposed to a new season of that show that you've been eagerly anticipating is finally out. And I feel like that's a good place for Sony to be. I will say I don't think it's the most exciting prospect. I don't think it's... I mean, I'm representing Sony to a degree, but I play on everything and I have no allegiances to any specific corporation, and nor will I defend them on the internet for no reason whatsoever. I think this is a very boring rollout. I think it's got zero fanfare, and like they could not have made it any less interesting if they tried. Like they have done more with less in the past to great success. Let's not forget the infamous how do you play a pre-owned game, or how do you lend a game from, like, it was literally Shu and who was it, Adam Boyes, just exchanging a disc, and that was like massive for them. Like, this could have been a moment where they put a little bit of, chuck some graphics on it, put a nice swish little PlayStation transition and say 300 games for this much. Instead, what they've done is they've presented a list, confusing, not enough details on big things that like there's no games mentioned in a meaningful way. There's like, Miles Morales or whatever, and we're working with.
Those are only the ones where it's like, because also one thing they didn't really mention, and it was confirmed later on, but it was like the PS Plus collection, which is part of PS Plus. If you have it and you're playing on PS5, you get a bunch of PS4 games. Like, you'll still have access to that, and you'll have games like God of War, which is part of the PS Plus collection, but you'll also have Death Stranding, Spider-Man, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. But it's like, okay, there's 5-6 games that we fully anticipated, but what else are you throwing out? You can't just throw numbers like 400 games plus an additional 350. Like,
I would kind of argue that they can, though. Like, to go off your point, Tam, of like competing with Game Pass, stuff like that. Like, Game Pass is Xbox's thing. Like, if you take a Game Pass away from Xbox, I think the Series X and Series S are not nearly as popular consoles as they are now. PlayStation, like, even without these weird, confusing, boring subscription models, people are still going to buy Forbidden West. They're still going to buy God of War Ragnarok. Like, in this moment, PlayStation does not have to necessarily be exciting about their subscription service. It might come back to bite them in the ass later down the line once Xbox's first-party studios might start pumping out much better games, fingers crossed. But as of right now, in 2022, like, PlayStation's fine. Like, 100%. No one is looking at PlayStation and thinking like, man, I really wish they had a subscription service so I could actually have something to play on my PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4 Pro. It's like, no, like, this is extra, honestly, added on to what they've already given us.
Yeah, I think for us, like, as people who are engaged on a day-to-day basis, it's a little more disappointing because we expected more of it. As a service, it's perfectly functional. For the most part, I think everyone who is subscribed to PlayStation Plus will probably just roll into the next month or whatever it may be, because the baseline doesn't change for them. The price doesn't change for that.
Yeah.
They're fine. And then if they're lucky, you'll get a bunch of people who are like, oh, I'm going to upgrade. And then, get access to these mysterious 400 games that are going to appear one
Just
day.
so weird that there's 3 tiers. Like, I know Xbox, you could argue, has 3 tiers and that they have games with gold, Game Pass, and then Game Pass Ultimate. But like for PlayStation to be like, here's tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3, I'm like, why wasn't there just Essential, which is like just the service that's still here, and it's like, or you could pay extra and just get this updated one. It must be some marketing thing that I just don't understand.
When you present 3 options, people will go for the middle option or something like that. Like there's some probably marketing psychology behind it. But at the end of the day, like it's like we said, like we were talking about earlier, like they had 2 confusing kind of branches of their online offerings between PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. One being the kind of streaming side of it, and they wanted to consolidate it to make it simpler. So they did that, and in consolidating it, they've created 3 confusing tiers now, this doesn't make a lot of sense to the average Joe Schmo. And like there's the differences between, the middle tier and the top tier are like not immediately apparent to most people who aren't us, who are paying attention to this stuff, if you know what I mean. And like it's not elegant in any way, shape or form. And a week from now, no one's gonna care. But like, for us right now, as it goes, like as an announcement of something that's a major change in PlayStation services, it wasn't the most elegant way to do it, and it's kind of a surprise for Sony, because Sony are a little more. They think about this stuff a little more. They have like a premium kind of polish to almost everything they do. This feels like they just opened the door, shouted into a room, and then closed the door and left. And it's like, okay, I guess we'll try and transcribe what this PlayStation person just shouted at us and figure it out.
I almost wonder if it'll evolve in any capacity once, because they have Bungie. Like, they're clearly wanting to go for the more service type games, even though they've said for the longest time it's like, no, we're the single player one and done kind of console. But even so, if you're going to tie anything like this, a subscription service, to any first party service games, wouldn't you wait until both of those things were ready to go? And again, this might just be one of those things that PlayStation's like, look, people have been asking us to create something that resembles Game Pass in some capacity for years now, and we just have to say something, even if we don't want to. The announcement almost kind of sounds like they just really did not want to make this announcement, but they just felt like, we have to say something, anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. Sorry, Lucy, if you wanted to say anything. I realize I'm just...
Yeah, no, I was going to say that, like, also it's very different approaches. We kind of touched upon this, but it's like, Xbox has Game Pass because, they started it in 2017, and at the time, there weren't necessarily, they were still in the acquisition phase, and they didn't really have that many first-party studios that were pumping out these big releases, whereas Sony had been spending a little more time refining that output. And, Jim Ryan's comments where he's like, we're not going to put those big games on this service day one, because, what's he said? He said, we feel if we were to do that with the games we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle would be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios
virtuous cycle
that would not be possible. And we think the knock-on effect of the quality of the games that we make would not be something that we feel gamers want. So the virtuous cycle is where the investment delivers success, which enables yet more investment, which delivers yet more success. We like that cycle, and we think our gamers like that cycle.
Our gamers. These are my machines.
My gamers.
What a fancy way of saying our games are actually good. We do not need.
What they're saying is that, our gamers are like, our games are popping off, so we don't need that shit.
What they like to say is our gamers like to pay
Yeah, exactly.
day one.
And like
Which
that's
is
100%
true,
true
like-
and like 100% in their right to do so, and I respect it so much. That is Sony going like, no one's making games the kind of way that we are. We're basically making Marvel movies effectively, and we'll put it out how we want, and people will come. We build it, and people will come. And it's like, yeah, fair play.
PlayStation Field of Dreams.
Yeah, exactly. And like that makes perfect sense. And keeping that in mind, it kind of puts context on why the updates to the PlayStation look the way the PlayStation Plus look the way they do, and why they have that policy where it's not like we're not introducing brand new games. Like they don't need to, because people pay the money, as Jim Ryan said, to play the next. When God of War Ragnarok comes out, people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people will very happily spend as much money as they need to buy that game, and they will have no issues with it. They won't be online being like, why isn't this coming out and if they are, Sony are going to be like, can't hear you over all of the cha-chings happening over here in this room right now.
The cha-ching.
The cha-chings. Let's kind of bring this to a bit of a close. What is, I think for me, the most disappointing, like let's end on a good and a bad. Honestly, I don't mind the tiers so much, because I recognize that like that third tier is not for me. I typically don't stream games that way. It's not, I never really dabbled with PlayStation Now. So if you know that is the way that you prefer to play games, the fact that you have that tier and you have access to that library, I guess it's good in a way for game preservation. However, the fact that some of them are downloadable and some of them aren't is still a bit iffy. Like, why not make them all downloadable? Not everyone has the privilege of having a steady internet connection, as anyone who's ever been on a video call with me can suffice. But I think honestly, like the thing that I'm honestly most disappointed about is the trials being locked behind that third tier. Because I don't know.
If you would like to check whether you want to pay money for this game, you will need to pay money to get the taster. That's some megalomaniac like villain shit happening in there.
And it's like so like that's not how you get someone addicted to cocaine. Like
no,
the first
you gotta
taste
give
is
them
free.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
the
And
first
then
hit
you
is
charge
always
for
free.
the second taste. Yeah.
It's almost like Jim Ryan has never gone out onto the streets and bought drugs. Get a grip. You know Big Phil has.
Disappointing.
don't say that.
Wow, just like
That was a joke for entertainment purposes. I'm not insinuating that Big Phil has been buying. Although.
No. Jordan, what about you? I'm trying to desperately steer this ship back.
I'm kind of in just the same boat as you, Lucy, where I'm just kind of looking at this and I'm confused at some of it, and at the same time I'm just like, I'll probably just pay for the first tier and just never think about it again for the rest of my life, unless Sony announces that they're changing it in some capacity. And yeah, it's not exciting, but again, like until Xbox actually starts creating first-party studio games that are like on par with what Sony is doing, I don't think Sony needs to be all that exciting with its subscription service. It's like, look, Xbox can have Game Pass and we'll just dominate making games that are just good on their own. Which is not to say that Xbox has shit games across the board. There are some good ones, but a lot of the games I've enjoyed on Game Pass have not been the first-party ones. They've been the third-party ones.
And I'm sorry if the day I'm like, I know we love Game Pass. We all we all have it. We all use it. We all have PS Plus. I'm intrigued to see what we all do with this one. But the day that we get excited about a new subscription model is the day that I know that we've lost it.
It's time
as
to
consumers.
stop.
We consume too much.
Late state capitalism has won.
Yeah. Tam, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like, despite the rollout, I am actually excited about this service. I am not too fussed about them not having, like, major first-party games for the reasons that we also discussed. I'm the thing that I'm most intrigued about is the backlog of games, like PS1, PS2, PSP games that are available in the premium and the extra tiers. So I think inevitably when it comes out, I'll probably go to the year PlayStation Plus extra tier and see what's in there, or I might just splash out and get the full one, because it will all depend on what those games are. Because if it's like every FIFA ever released. I'm okay, thank you very much. I want Sony to distinguish this service by like finding the gems, finding the stuff that people care about, and doing the work to put that out there. Like, don't just do the stuff that you know people are or publishers are desperate to shovel onto your service and curate it instead. Don't roll up with, hey, we've got all the Need for Speeds. Get me a God Hand. Get me a Beautiful Joe. Like, go out there and do the things that Okami, like whatever it may be that you know people love. Don't just allow anyone to like shovel their shit onto your service just because they want to make some money. So that's my hope, and I am excited about that. The downside is, like I said, for me, just like I wish there was a little more like fanfare around this, because I want to be more excited than I actually am. And I think if they were like, PSP, here is this game, we've put Metal Gear Acid. Ta-da.
Well, there's nothing from the Vita.
I know Vita is live and well still.
Do you
Vita
really
means
want
live.
fanfare, Tam? Or do you just want the announcement? Sometimes,
like-
we get fanfare so often.
No, the problem-
sometimes you just want the announcement.
The problem is we have neither here. We've got no fanfare and we don't have the details we need. It's one or the other. If you're not going to have fanfare, give me a list of the 300 games. If you are not going to have the 300 games, give me some fanfare. They did neither. And it was like, all right, cool.
I expected nothing and I was still let down.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and I'm going to call it there. Thank you, Tam and Jordan. If you're watching along at home, thank you for watching. And let us know what you make of the new changes to PS Plus in the comments below. Catch you next time.